morning sun bathed Pinecrest Academy in a warm glow as Madeline Carter, a reserved girl dressed in faded jeans and scuffed boots, held a scholarship application tightly in her shaking hands. After weeks of meticulous effort, she finally crafted her masterpiece, the sole opportunity to break free from the confines of her small-town farm existence. But when she anxiously presented it to Principal Warren, he scarcely looked at it before scoffing. "A farmer's daughter. It's time to face the facts. This institution is designed for those who aspire to lead, not for those who toil in the fields." Amidst the echoes of laughter, Madeline felt her heart break into pieces. Tears gathered, yet she held them back resolutely. The following morning, a private jet touched down on campus, leaving everyone in awe, and then she emerged. Before we dive in, please give this video a thumbs up and let us know your location in the comments. Your support enables us to share more impactful narratives. Let us commence. The cool autumn breeze wafted the aroma of freshly mowed grass as students hurried into Pinecrest Academy, their stylish backpacks draped over their shoulders. Among them was Madeline Carter, clutching a meticulously organized folder, her heart racing. She had envisioned this moment countless times in her mind. This scholarship represented a lifeline, a chance to break free from the unending cycle of hardship that characterized her family's existence on the farm. Her boots clicked anxiously on the gleaming marble floors as she made her way to the principal's office. She had never experienced such a profound sense of disconnection. The corridors were adorned with framed photographs of graduates who had ascended to Ivy League institutions, corporate leaders, lawmakers, and scions of long-standing affluence. Madeline stood out, yet she was confident that her dedication would resonate more than her origins. She rapped on the door. A voice from within beckoned her closer. Principal Warren hardly acknowledged her presence as she walked in, a figure of refined self-assurance. His meticulously styled silver hair and sharp suit embodied the elite nature of Pinecrest. He reclined in his leather chair, fingers drumming restlessly as Madeline approached and presented the folder to him. I came to submit my application for the scholarship," she said, infusing her voice with a determined confidence. Warren turned the pages with a lack of enthusiasm, then let out a derisive laugh. "Madeline Carter, you're the daughter of the farmer, aren't you?" She paused for a moment, then gave a slight nod. "Indeed, my mother and I manage Carter Farms." His lips twisted into a sly grin. "Listen, Miss Carter, Pinecrest Academy shapes the minds of future leaders, politicians, and business magnates, not agricultural workers." He closed the folder and pushed it back in her direction. The words hit hard, like a sharp blow. Her hands shook slightly as she extended them toward the folder. In a fleeting moment, her aspirations lay in ruins. "Yet, sir," she made another attempt, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. "I possess the academic achievements and the endorsements." "I know you put in a lot of effort," he interrupted, waving dismissively. "However, we must face the facts. You are not meant to be in this place." A soft laugh from the doorway sent a shiver through Madeline's stomach. She glanced over to find Savannah Kingsley, the principal's top student and the daughter of a prosperous real estate tycoon, wearing a smirk. "Oh, this is delightful," Savannah remarked, chuckling. "A child of the fields believing she is one of us." Heat surged to Madeline's cheeks, yet she steadfastly concealed any sign of her unraveling. In silence, she pivoted and strode away, clutching the folder with such intensity that her knuckles blanched. The corridor appeared to extend infinitely as she hurried out into the open air. The sting of humiliation seared through me, yet underneath, a more potent force began to stir. A quiet, smoldering resolve. That evening, as she lingered in the softly illuminated kitchen of their humble farmhouse, her mother, Evelyn Carter, observed her quietness. "What occurred, my dear?" her mother inquired softly, placing a warm mug of tea on the table. Madeline paused, then let out a breath. "They claimed I have no place here." Evelyn's jaw clenched. "Is that really the case?" The following morning, as students of Pinecrest assembled in the courtyard, an overwhelming roar echoed through the sky. Attention shifted, gazes expanded, and murmurs circulated rapidly. A polished private jet glided down towards the Academy's elite helipad, its engines creating waves of astonishment among the onlookers. Suddenly, the doors swung wide. A silence enveloped the Pinecrest Academy courtyard as the private jet's engines came to a halt. Students who had spent the morning showcasing their designer clothes and luxury cars now stood still, their eyes fixed on the aircraft. Savannah Kingsley, reveling in the delight of yesterday's embarrassment, let out a scoff. "Who on earth arrives in a private jet here?" she whispered, tossing her golden locks. "Is that a new donor trying to flaunt their generosity?" Principal Warren stepped outside, his typical confidence wavering for the first time. The helipad was designated for distinguished guests, influential politicians, affluent benefactors, and esteemed legacy families. The arrival of this individual suggested a formidable presence, one capable of circumventing the school's strict regulations. At last, the door of the jet swung open. A flight attendant emerged first, surveying the crowd before retreating back inside. Suddenly, the sound of polished heels echoed against the metal stairs. A figure stepped into view. With a statuesque presence and an air of undeniable confidence, she entered the space with the elegance of one who is used to captivating attention. Her jet-black hair was gathered into a graceful bun, while her designer coat hung effortlessly over her shoulders. With each stride, her aura stirred waves among the spectators. Suddenly, Madeline Carter emerged next to her. Gasps erupted. Whispers cascaded like a raging inferno. Savannah's smile faded away. "Absolutely not," she murmured. Principal Warren felt a sudden dryness in his mouth as his eyes flickered back and forth between Madeline and the woman accompanying her. Awareness arriving after the moment has passed. Evelyn Carter was more than a farmer. Evelyn Carter held the title of CEO at Carter Global Enterprises, a leading force in agricultural technology within the nation, a name that resonated with authority in the boardrooms where multimillion-dollar agreements were forged. The very woman he had once regarded merely as a farmer's mother had now touched down in a private jet on his campus. Evelyn approached the principal with measured, purposeful strides, her intense gaze fixed and unyielding. "Mr. Warren," she said with a calm confidence, her voice resonating with a subtle power that sent a chill through him. "It's time for a conversation." The air was heavy with silence. The students, the faculty, all stood in anticipation, eyes fixed, waiting. Warren adjusted his tie, managing a stiff smile. "Mrs. Carter," he started, fighting to conceal his discomfort. "What an unexpected turn of events. What brings you here today?" Evelyn's face was a mask of mystery. "I understand you spoke with my daughter yesterday." Warren cast a fleeting look at Madeline before shifting his gaze back to Evelyn. "I assure you, I manage all student matters with fairness," he stated, his tone tinged with a veneer of confidence. "Regrettably, not every candidate aligns with Pinecrest's demanding." Evelyn raised a perfectly groomed hand, interrupting him mid-sentence. "We should get straight to the point, Principal Warren." A sleek black luxury SUV glided to a stop behind the jet. The driver emerged and swung the door open. A gentleman clad in a tailored suit appeared, holding a sleek leather briefcase. "This," Evelyn went on, "is my lawyer." Soft murmurs transformed into astonished breaths. Warren tensed up. Savannah's eyes grew large with astonishment. Evelyn expressed her understanding that her daughter was not only deprived of a well-deserved opportunity, but also subjected to public humiliation. Warren gulped. His palms became moist. I wouldn't refer to it in that way." Evelyn stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that charged the atmosphere with palpable tension. "Are you aware of the consequences that arise when a parent believes their child has been treated unfairly?" Warren felt a constriction in his throat. Savannah, now wan, grasped her designer purse, her typical haughtiness absent. The whole school paused in anticipation. Madeline, poised next to her mother, met Warren's gaze with unwavering confidence. For the first time in his career, Principal Warren came to the unsettling realization that he had made an irreversible mistake. Principal Warren's strained grin hardly masked the anxiety gripping his heart. His whole professional journey revolved around upholding Pinecrest's prestigious image, making certain that only the most fitting students graced its corridors. Before him stood Madeline Carter, a woman whose impact reached well beyond the confines of this prestigious establishment. "I assure you, Mrs. Carter," he began, his voice imbued with a fervent courtesy, "this is merely a misinterpretation. Our selection process is quite discerning, and regrettably not every student." Evelyn's attorney advanced, opening his briefcase with a disquieting exactness. "Principal Warren," he interjected with ease, "before you express any further thoughts, I recommend that you select your words with great care." Warren sensed a droplet of perspiration gathering at his temple. 100 gazes bore down on him, heavy and unyielding. His students, who had always held him in high regard, were now murmuring, sharing glances brimming with curiosity, uncertainty, and a hint of amusement. Madeline remained still, her expression a mystery. In contrast to the previous day, she no longer held her scholarship folder tightly, yearning for an opportunity. She wasn't seeking validation. She observed, poised in anticipation, as though she possessed an inkling of the outcome that awaited her. Evelyn crossed her arms. "Yesterday you spoke harshly to my daughter. You belittled her, undermined her value, and made it clear that she was unwelcome. I would like to hear it straight from you. What were the reasons for your decision to turn her down?" Warren's lips parted, yet silence enveloped him. Savannah Kingsley shifted restlessly in her seat, her interest waning. The vibrancy had vanished from her complexion, her typical self-satisfied demeanor giving way to doubt. She had never been accustomed to watching from the sidelines of an event. She had grown accustomed to taking charge. Evelyn remained still, her gaze unwavering. As Warren held his silence, she let out a sigh. "I had that impression as well." She faced her legal counsel. "Submit it." The man nodded, pulling out a hefty envelope from his briefcase. He extended it toward Warren, who paused momentarily before grasping it with trembling fingers. "Excuse me? What is this all about?" Warren inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a murmur. The attorney responded with a formal complaint. An examination of Pinecrest Academy's admissions policies, financial records, and practices related to discrimination. The audience gasped in unison. Warren's fingers quivered as he turned the pages of the document. The burden of the allegations pressed down on him with great intensity. This was more than a mere grievance. A tempest was barreling directly toward him. Evelyn made a subtle adjustment to her coat. "Principal Warren, I have dedicated years to making sure that children from diverse backgrounds receive quality education. My daughter put in a tremendous amount of effort to secure her spot here. Yet rather than assessing her on her abilities, you chose to critique her based on her origins." Warren gulped nervously. "Mrs. Carter, I can assure you that assurances hold no interest for me." Evelyn interjected seamlessly. "I have a keen interest in accountability." Savannah stepped back, a wave of longing for another place washing over her. Her father was a formidable businessman, yet he still couldn't match the prowess of Madeline Carter. Warren's thoughts surged like a tempest. If this lawsuit gained momentum, if the media picked up on it, his reputation and career would be finished. "I'm confident we can settle this matter between ourselves," he stammered. "There's no necessity to pursue legal measures." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "In private, it's remarkable how quickly you disregarded my daughter." The atmosphere was thick with unease. Madeline finally spoke, her tone steady yet resolute. "I am not seeking any special consideration, Principal Warren. I simply sought what was rightfully mine." A brief glimmer of emotion, shame, regret, fear, crossed Warren's face. However, the moment had passed. The harm was already inflicted. The atmosphere in the courtyard was heavy with unease. All students and faculty members were on edge, eager to discover what would unfold next. Principal Warren's fingers quivered around the legal document, his complexion wan as he perused the pages. His meticulously crafted reality was disintegrating around him, and he was acutely aware of it. Madeline Carter remained resolute, her keen gaze fixed intently on him. She was a formidable figure, having constructed an empire from nothing, a warrior in the cutthroat arenas of business. And now she focused her unwavering gaze on the man who had the audacity to demean her daughter. Warren cleared his throat, mustering a wobbly smile. Mrs. Carter, there's really no reason to take this further. It seems we may have been a bit too quick to dismiss Madeline's application. Evelyn inclined her head just a fraction. Quickly, she reiterated, I do not remember any reluctance when you sent her away. Savannah Kingsley lingered at the edge, her arms wrapped firmly around herself. For the first time in her life, she found herself outside the spotlight, and it filled her with disdain. She cast a fleeting look at Madeline, anticipating a display of smug satisfaction, but instead found her composed and unwavering, as if victory was already hers. Warren adjusted his stance with a hint of unease. At Pinecrest Academy, we hold diversity in high regard. Perhaps there was some confusion. Madeline finally spoke, her tone steady. A misunderstanding occurs when one fails to properly handle another's documents. A misunderstanding occurs when a name slips your mind. Your actions were intentional. Soft murmurs flowed among the gathering. A few students nodded, while others cast anxious looks at one another. The reality was becoming undeniable. This esteemed institution had never truly lived up to its promises of fairness. Evelyn's lawyer advanced a pace. We have already contacted multiple media outlets, he stated, his tone steady yet assertive. To address this misunderstanding, Pinecrest must go beyond mere words. Warren's breath caught in his throat. Thoughts surged through his mind. Should the media intervene, the school's board would seek explanations. Parents, influential and affluent, would scrutinize everything. His work, his mark on the world, would be obliterated. Evelyn took a brief moment, allowing the significance of the scene to linger before she pressed on. Here is what will unfold, she stated. A public apology will be issued to my daughter. You will promptly reinstate her application, and you will guarantee that no other student experiences such treatment in the future. Warren's eyes fluttered momentarily. I must seek the board's input before. No, Evelyn interrupted, her tone resolute. You must address this immediately, or you will witness your esteemed academy become engulfed in legal battles, media attention, and a comprehensive inquiry into your admissions procedures. Quietude. The students gazed at their previously untouchable principal, now a man desperately trying to salvage his own dignity. He breathed out unsteadily, giving a nod. Absolutely. I shall. Please ensure that all arrangements are made accordingly. Evelyn's lips formed a subtle smile, not out of victory, but from a place of assuredness. Excellent. Madeline fixed her eyes on him, her stare steady and resolute. I don't seek a place here out of sympathy. I desire it because I have earned it. Warren took a deep breath and gave a slight nod. You certainly do. The truth hung in the air, a rare gem amidst the noise, as Principal Warren faced the crowd. The gravity of the situation bore down on him, his thoughts swirling in a frantic search for a way to restore his standing. For years, he meticulously crafted the persona of Pinecrest Academy, presenting it as a bastion of excellence, beyond reach and unparalleled. Yet now, beneath the intense scrutiny of Evelyn Carter and the watchful eyes of the assembled students, his meticulously crafted facade was beginning to fall apart. Evelyn observed him with a serene assurance, as if she had already claimed victory. There was no need for her to elevate her tone or issue any more threats. The truth of his situation was carrying the burden of all the effort. The legal battle, the whirlwind of headlines, the board's unavoidable wrath. Everything was slipping through his fingers. A soft whisper spread among the students. Several individuals had their devices ready, capturing the moment. They sensed that a moment of great significance was unfolding, something so extraordinary that it would be met with disbelief unless witnessed firsthand. Savannah Kingsley remained motionless, her expression a blend of astonishment and subdued fear. For years at Pinecrest, she had held onto the belief that she was invincible. She had ridiculed, ostracized, and condescended to anyone who failed to meet her unattainable expectations. Yet, as she observed her principal falter in his speech, an unfamiliar sensation washed over her. Helpless, Warren took a deep breath and faced Madeline, his voice taut yet unwavering. "Miss Carter," he uttered, the words leaving a sour taste on his tongue. "On behalf of Pinecrest Academy, I truly regret the manner in which you were treated. It was inappropriate and does not align with the principles we aim to embody." A collective breath was taken by the audience. Savannah's jaw clenched. Not a single time had she ever witnessed Principal Warren express an apology to a student. Madeline remained expressionless. She refrained from gloating. She gave a slight nod. "Thank you," she replied calmly. Warren compelled himself to press on. "Your application will be reinstated without delay, and we will be evaluating our admissions policies to prevent a recurrence of this issue." The students murmured to one another, some taken aback, others nodding in silent agreement. Evelyn's attorney offered a subtle nod, a flicker of satisfaction crossing their features. "That's a beginning," he remarked. Warren's hands tightened at his sides, yet he remained silent. He was left with no option but to acknowledge his loss. Evelyn faced Madeline, her hand resting softly on her shoulder. "Are you prepared?" Madeline locked eyes with her mother, then shifted her gaze to the crowd of students observing her, eager to witness her next move. Gradually, she pivoted to face Warren once more. "I appreciate the apology," she said, her voice unwavering. "However, I have reached my conclusion." A silence enveloped the audience. Warren's brow knitted in concentration. "Choice?" Madeline breathed out, her self-assurance steadfast. "I have decided not to attend Pinecrest anymore." Silence enveloped the surroundings. Savannah's eyes grew wide with astonishment. Warren blinked, his lips parting in astonishment. "And you? Excuse me?" Madeline smiled, her expression reflecting a deep sense of assurance rather than any hint of ill will. "I believed Pinecrest was the sole route to achievement. If I didn't get in, I would feel like I amounted to nothing. However, I've come to understand that the genuine gauge of achievement lies not in the destination, but in the actions you take." The audience whispered among themselves, a mix of astonishment and curiosity in the air. Evelyn offered a subtle, proud smile. "Madeline, the possibilities are yours to explore. The universe extends far beyond the confines of a single institution." Warren parted his lips, eager to find a counterpoint, yet none emerged. The girl he had cast aside, belittled, had just turned him down. The control had slipped from his grasp. It had never been that way. A profound hush enveloped the courtyard, lingering with weight and intensity. This came as a complete surprise to everyone. Madeline Carter, the girl who faced rejection and humiliation, had just turned her back on the very thing she had battled for. And yet she stood taller than ever, her self-assurance shining through every part of her. Principal Warren sensed the walls tightening around him. His scheme had unraveled in a manner he could never have foreseen. He had anticipated that Evelyn Carter would prove to be a formidable adversary, yet he had completely misjudged Madeline. Now he stood before the students of Pinecrest Academy not as a figure of respect, but as a man who had been bested in front of the entire school. Savannah Kingsley's lips parted ever so slightly, as though she intended to voice something, yet silence enveloped her. Her whole perspective had been upended. She had ridiculed Madeline, brushed her off, regarded her as if she were inferior. In that instant, Savannah sensed her own diminutiveness. Madeline pivoted, her gaze meeting her mother's with intensity. "Let's go," she said, her voice steady and confident. Evelyn nodded, casting a last look at Principal Warren. "Expect to hear from us shortly." Warren gulped, feeling a parched sensation in his throat. He was certain she was sincere in every word she spoke. As Evelyn and Madeline approached the parking lot, a sound pierced the stillness around them. Initially, it was barely audible, a solitary clap, followed by another and yet another. In an instant, the sound of applause filled the courtyard. Students, staff, and even some reluctant faculty members participated, their voices lifting in enthusiastic cheers. Madeline halted, spinning around in astonishment. She was taken completely by surprise. She had thought that the majority of them would return to their routines, unbothered. Yet a shift had occurred. A student approached, a younger girl with bright, curious eyes. "You stood up for yourself," she said, her voice brimming with admiration. "You accomplished what was beyond our reach." A different voice joined the conversation. "He was made to apologize." Madeline surveyed the expressions surrounding her, expressions that had previously conveyed judgment and disregard, but now reflected a newfound sense of respect. Evelyn rested her hand gently on her daughter's shoulder. "Are you prepared for the upcoming chapter?" Madeline breathed out, allowing the moment to settle within her. Now more than ever. As they approached the polished black car stationed at the curb, the powerful growl of the engine resonated through the air. Heads turned sharply as a private jet glided low above, its wings cutting through the clouds before veering toward the city's executive airport. A handful of students inhaled sharply. "Is that belonging to her?" one murmured. Savannah Kingsley remained motionless, her gaze fixed as the weight of her underestimation crashed down upon her in a single, overwhelming moment. Madeline Carter had never experienced being beneath her. She had never been more diminished. She had always been above them. The opulent car doors opened gracefully, and with a determined stride, Madeline entered without a glance behind her. As the vehicle departed from Pinecrest Academy, she felt no sense of regret. She felt no resentment. She experienced a sense of liberation. For the first time, Principal Warren came to the realization that he had not turned away Madeline Carter. She had turned him down.